What Tyran Stokes, the number one overall player in the 2026 class, wants from his future college, the Kentucky Wildcats can not only provide, but they can provide it in spades.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we're going to dive into some recent comments by number one overall player Tyran Stokes. He's been linked to Kentucky quite a bit, and he talked about what exactly he wants from his future college program. The Wildcats can not only just provide it, but they can provide it in spades. Also on today's episode, going to break down two different players setting OVs with the Wildcats. One of them I'm pretty fired up about. Another, I think, is a ways away from developing into a player that Kentucky could really get fired up about. And that's not to say he's bad. It's just I think there is some development there that needs to be had. And then to wrap up the show, Otega Oweh is in a boot. There's no reason to freak out, despite what Twitter is going to tell you. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there, we are free and available on all platforms. Trying to get to 20,000 subscribers before the start of the college basketball season. Would love it if you joined up. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So Tyran Stokes, the number one overall player, recently broke down what he wants from his future college. In case you don't know, he's taking OVs. He's already taken an official visit with Kentucky, Louisville, Kansas, Oregon, Gonzaga, USC, also on the books, according to Kentucky Sports Radio. KSR also got news from his mother, Stokes' mother, Kiera, that she thinks that he will have an announcement for where he's going to commit wrapped up before the school season begins, meaning the fall ahead of the early signing period in November. So we're going to get an answer here at some point in the next few months as to where Tyran Stokes wants to play. And in a recent interview, Stokes detailed what exactly he wants from the school that he's going to play at. First and foremost, he said development. This was a video, if I'm not mistaken, that was taken by KY Sports TV, if I'm not mistaken, over on YouTube. First and foremost, he said it's the development. A good foundation, someone who has fans and puts their all into the school, not someone that just says, oh, we have a good football team or a good basketball team. I want to go somewhere where I can have a good time actually experiencing college. Go to a nice football game, have a nice baseball team to go to, just experience school. That's the thing first and foremost. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to take a look at who has been the best at developing high-profile prospects over the last 15 years or so, even longer than that, it's been the Kentucky Wildcats. And the fact that Mark Pope was able to put together a roster of hodgepodge transfer portal players, by the way, not to say those players were bad, they were actually pretty good, and that was reflected in their 24-12 record. But to be able to take some of those guys and get more draftees than, say, John Calipari, who went to Arkansas with some high-profile five-star talent, Kentucky still had more draft prospects than Arkansas, respectively. It shows that it's not just about the coach, it's about the university when it comes to developing and actually churning out these high-profile, top-ranked guys into legitimate NBA talents. And Stokes, I think if he came here, which based on what Pope wants to do offensively, schematically, how he would want to surround Stokes with talent, he would not only be able to look good individually, but the team around him would kind of help support that case. It would help him generate, I think, more buzz than any other school when it comes to getting him to the next level. Kentucky would be the place to go if he wants to be developed. And if he wants to actually experience college, which was his second thing there, just essentially a genuine college experience, I think Lexington would be the perfect place for that. Football, things pending with what Mark Stoops could possibly do this season. And I'm not saying he's going to get fired. I'm just saying whatever happens over the next year or so with that football program, I think could churn in a positive direction. Again, depending on what happens this season. I think it's going to end up being positive one way or another, because if somehow Kentucky makes it out of the fire with Stoops, awesome. I think we should be set up for a more interesting 2026. But also at the same time, if Stoops doesn't make it out, I think you're excited about whoever Kentucky is bringing in to then lead the charge post Stoops, the greatest coach in the history of the program. The final thing that Tyran Stokes explains here, what he wants from his college. I'm just going to read the direct quote here. "And a school that's not going to duck the smoke. That's it. I don't like ducking smoke, so I want everybody on the schedule. If I could get North Carolina, Duke, anybody on the schedule, that's all I want." Louisville fans have taken this recently on Twitter and run with it, saying, oh, he's talking about what Pat Kelsey is discussed recently. He's talking about how Louisville doesn't duck the smoke. Here's the direct quote from Pat Kelsey earlier this year. He said, "What I want to do is make sure that when we get there, the selection committee is looking at us and they know one thing. Louisville didn't duck the smoke. We're not ducking the smoke. We're not. You can't sharpen your teeth eating oatmeal. Whether it ends up being the best strategy in the world, I don't know. But that's what we decided. Bring it." A lot of Louisville fans are taking this and running with it, going, oh, he's talking about Louisville. He's going to end up committing to Louisville. Louisville. Who cares? Because Mark Pope, the team that has been, the coach of the team that has been tied to Stokes as of late, also had a near identical quote back in March. Quote, "You don't come to Kentucky if you're trying to run from the smoke," when he was talking about the path through the NCAA tournament, breaking down opponents like in Illinois, Tennessee, possibly playing Houston to get to the Final Four. This also, as KSR notes, and as any other human being with eyes would note, aligns with what Kentucky is doing with their schedule. You ain't going to find another schedule, gentlemen, that embraces the smoke like Kentucky does. Did you see what we went through last season, playing Duke, playing Gonzaga? Obviously, the SEC slate is as daunting as it can get. You had the national champion. You had 2 Final Four teams in this conference a season ago. Nobody is running from anything in this league, and Kentucky has backed it up, not only with the games that they've scheduled that matter, Indiana, North Carolina, Gonzaga, etc., for the non-con regular season, but they've also, it's reflected in the freaking teams that they scheduled for an exhibition game. Guys, we're bringing the #1 overall team in the nation, Purdue, preseason #1, into Rupp Arena for an exhibition game. We're not ducking anything. We're going to let it be known loud and clear before the season starts, hey, we want to play the best competition. Throw in Georgetown as well. We're not ducking anything. We're playing the best of the best. So if you want development, if you want a genuine college experience, which I think the fan base would 1,000% be able to provide him, just the surroundings of Lexington and the people that care about basketball and care about him by virtue of that, you're going to get a genuine college experience. You're going to get that development to go to the NBA, and you are not going to find another school in the country that embraces the smoke like Mark Pope and company want to. Nobody is doing it like Kentucky does. That's what Tyran Stokes wants from his future college. I think that Kentucky makes a pretty good case. We'll continue to monitor his recruitment. We'll see what happens. Who knows? He could end up going to Louisville. He could end up going elsewhere. We don't know. But as of right now, as far as Kentucky being mentioned over and over and over and over by any insider saying, hey, it's not imminent. It's not like going to happen in a week, but Kentucky is the team right now that's getting all of the attention. I mean, things are going pretty well for the Cats, recruiting #1 overall player Tyran Stokes. Again, we'll keep an eye on it. We've got 2 other recruits, though, that we need to get to. Kentucky has reached out to Isaiah Hill, and then Cloer has also set a Kentucky official visit. And then also to note real quick, Darren Rippey Jr. had to reschedule his visit. So him and Isaiah Hill rescheduling here. Cloer and Rippey rescheduling here. All I could see, though, on Twitter over the weekend, despite Rippey not being able to come up, because I believe of weather issues up in New York, was a happy birthday video from the staff, and that was just incredible. They seemed to really appreciate it. The Rippey family did, so that was really cool to see. But we'll talk about Isaiah Hill. We'll talk about Cloer here in just a second. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever wished managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO. It's giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money by using code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, continuing along here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Really appreciate you guys checking out the show today, whether you're on YouTube or on podcast. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you have any thoughts about Tyran Stokes, about Isaiah Hill, Cole, Cloer, Otega, Oweh, Jayden, Quaintance, who we'll get to here in just a little bit, leave it in the YouTube comments below or at Locked On UK on Twitter. You can find me. That's the place you're going to get me. If you want to reach out, if you have any questions about anything going on with the show, at Locked On UK on Twitter. You ain't going to find me anywhere else discussing Kentucky hoops. We're actually pretty active over there on Locked On UK on Twitter. So if you want to give me a follow, that would also be appreciated as well. Okay, Kentucky has reached out to one 4-star recruit. They have set an OV with another, and they have rescheduled an OV with a third. First and foremost, Isaiah Hill, according to, I believe On3, KSR actually discussed this recently. Isaiah Hill has been contacted by Kentucky, a 6'10", 190-pound center out of Indianapolis, playing in Pike High School, a 2027 recruit. Number 42 overall player, number 5 center, and number 3 player in the state of Indiana. What do we know about him? He's a really good shot blocker. Despite being really wiry for his size, he's got great mobility and some physicality to boot. He is not shy when it comes to initiating contact, especially on the defensive end. This kid lives in the dunker spot. It is just absolutely perfect for him at 6'10", $190, probably weighs a little bit more than that. At this point, that's just what 24/7 Sports has on their website. And the reason I wanted to lead off with Hill today as far as the recruits go is I actually really like a former Kentucky player comp for Isaiah Hill, and that's another Isaiah in Isaiah Jackson. Both of those guys, incredible shot blockers, a little wiry when it came to where they were playing at that forward spot, really good in the dunker spot, high flyers, aggressive, physical on defense. Both these players, I think, are very similar in how they produce. They look pretty similar in terms of frame, and they could end up playing for the same school. Who knows? So Isaiah Hill has been reached out to, not offered, but he's getting attention. The fun note here is that he actually led earlier this year the Nike EYBL 16U division in block shots at, get this, 3.9 per game. Averaged 8.2 points, 5.5 rebounds, almost 4 blocks, and 1.5 assists per game. Turned 16 here in August, which means he will play his entire junior year of high school as a 16-year-old, making him a full year young for his grade. We'll keep an eye on him because he actually also, in some of his highlights, showcased the ability to stretch out to the three-point line in limited volume, but the fact that he shows that part of his arsenal here on top of being a really good defensive player. This is a kid I'd like to keep eyes on as a top 50 prospect. The other player here that Kentucky has not only reached out to but set an OV with is Cloer. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Cloer. Last year averaged 18.9 points, 7.2 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 1.2 blocks per game as a junior with Caldwell before playing on the Nike EYBL circuit with Team CP3. When he played on the Nike EYBL circuit with Team CP3 again as a 4-star prospect, the way that the highlight videos showcase his ability are not reflective of the statistics that he produces. Because when you watch him, you think this is exclusively an efficient spot-up shooter, and that just doesn't really seem to be the case. He shot 35% from 3 over his back half of the EYBL circuit with CP3. He shot 31.4% from deep in 6 games prior to that. Only shot 38.5% as a whole in those 6 games, 49.4% in the other 14. Just not a very efficient shooter. Struggled from the foul line in the back half of the EYBL circuit and just didn't really provide a whole lot else outside of that. You would like to think that as a 4-star prospect, he would be a little bit more efficient at a 6'7", 190 pounds. He'd be like that catch and shoot guy that Mark Pope would want to kind of throw out there on the wing, but the numbers don't really reflect what we're looking at here. He's got a very, I would say, delayed release. It's a very high, slow release that he's got. And in the videos, the highlight videos that he's got out there, I mean, he's knocking them down. It's not like they're just rattling in, and that stuff is wet, to be clear. But the numbers aren't exactly telling of a very positive story here, because outside of that, the scouting reports don't really seem to indicate that he is much of anything else at this point in terms of like what he's bringing to the table. He's not a versatile prospect. Here's what Jamie Shaw said in December of last year. He said he stands in the 6'6" range. Cole does. A scorer. Cloer is a solid straight line athlete with solid length and developing wing handle. Is at his best when his game is consolidated, getting to his spots with one or two dribbles. His balance is inconsistent when shooting from three, which leads to inconsistent results. He has good length, a nice shooting release that is consistent. Not the best athlete laterally and can play upright at times. Has some explosion that will get him above the rim, especially on set lob plays. Very nice pull-up jump shot off a dribble or two. Does not put much pressure on the rim in the half court, which limits free throw opportunities at times, but he is capable of a straight line drive, straight line driving sloppy closeouts. His brother played football at Cornell. So he seems like he is most effective, based on his tape and the scouting reports, in the spot up catch and shoot type situations where he can get to his one or two different spots in the floor, take a dribble, if any, and knock down the shot. The numbers are not saying he is an elite shooter. The mechanics and the highlights look like he could be an elite shooter, which is why I started the episode today essentially saying, look, he is a prospect that I think with his size and some of his numbers, I mean, he was still averaging 16, 17 plus points per game on at least average efficiency as he carried on there with Team CP3 with the EYBL. I mean, he needs to develop, I think, into something a little bit more is what I'm trying to say here. We need to see more out of Cloer before we end up saying this is somebody that's like a game-changing prospect that Kentucky adds in next year's recruiting class. If Kentucky added him now, I would say, awesome. This is a top 50 recruit, essentially, across the board that I think has high upside because of what he could be with Mark Pope, but he hasn't showcased a ton of versatility in his game, which you don't necessarily have to. I mean, not everybody has to be positionless and do 50 different things on the court. Maybe you want to see him if he's going to be tabbed as a shooter. Maybe get some of those percentages up is all I'm trying to say. Kentucky isn't even in his top 8 schools, by the way. He's not even in his top 8. He already released his top 8, I want to say, yeah, almost exactly a month ago, which in case you're curious, it's Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Louisville, NC State, North Carolina, UConn, and Virginia. So recruitment changes all the time. Getting in late doesn't mean you miss. We'll see it. Well, we'll see what happens. It's not that I don't necessarily get this prospect. Like, I'm not saying, like, I don't get why Kentucky's reached out to him, but there are a lot of different signs to indicate, like, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I want to wrap up the show today talking about Otega Oweh. He's in a boot. It's not that big of a deal. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I, myself, need this pretty consistently. I do a lot of overnight work, and getting up in the morning sometimes is a little difficult, whether I do want to go play golf with a friend or my brother, or I want to go run some stuff at the rec, in the gym, shooting hoops. I need that extra boost of energy just about at any point during the day. So 5 Hour Energy absolutely does help me do that. It's all about good times here with good people, right? And you want to be able to stay engaged with that with some good flavors to boot. The grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go to without chasing down the Bev card. Of course, you know me, guys. I'm a huge sucker for anything grape flavored, so this just fits right into my repertoire. And if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends, trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. All right, continuing along here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Going to pause here for a little bit of water. Probably should have muted for that. I know a lot of you guys don't appreciate that. Ever since I got the new mic, this mic has been just incredible when it comes to like picking up all the different like little specific stuff. And sometimes I'll hear it back. I'll be like, is that my breathe? Like, that's just nasty. So maybe that's not a tick for you guys. It certainly is for me. Okay. Otega Oweh is injured to some extent. We don't exactly know. So here's the situation. Last night, it started circulating on Twitter. Like, hey, Otega Oweh's in a boot. And then a picture surfaced on Twitter of Otega at a park wearing a boot. That wasn't the only thing, though, in the photo. To the left of him in the photo, driving to the hoop and going to dunk, was Jayden Quaintance in slides. And I've got the picture right here for any of you watching on YouTube. There's two different photos that have surfaced as of this morning. Two different photos. So this isn't AI. This is real. This is legitimate. At least we're pretty sure. If this ends up being AI, this will be the worst thing I've ever talked about on this show. But we're pretty sure it's real, just based on what we're hearing. He had some sort of injury, well, I believe actually at some camp with Chris Paul. Or like playing for some team or doing something like that. But as you can see in the first photo on the left, it's Otega with a boot with his back faced to the camera, boot on his right foot. And Quaintance is near the low block wearing slides. I want to reiterate that. And he goes to, in the second photo, he's dunking. He's dunking off a freaking slide. Well, here's what, and Otega's facing the camera now. Here's what I don't understand. You just tore your ACL, brother, and you're dunking in slides at a park? I'm not, listen, I think this is twofold. Number one, please be careful. Please be careful. Please be careful. Your teammate is standing in a boot. You don't want to end up like that. The second thing here, for all of you online that are panicking about this, freaking out, saying, Otega's hurt. It's the end of the world. We're not going to, it's over. We're not going to get our best player back. It's August. It's August. A boot in August will trump a boot in November 10 times out of 10. Every single day of the week. I would rather have Kentucky, if he sprained an ankle, did something light, which my assumption is it is, if he's out there at a freaking park with JQ. If he did something light, put a boot on it as a precautionary thing, who cares? It's all like 2 weeks from now, he could be fine. 3 weeks from now, perfectly fine. You're not missing anything here. The other thing is our 6'11" possible defensive player of the year that tore his ACL and is trying to recover from that is dunking in slides at a park. For anybody out there that is wondering, is Kentucky going to have all their guys to start the season? Are they going to be healthy? Is JQ going to be ready at the beginning of the year? We don't know when we'll get him back. Kind of sounds like what some of the national pundits are suggesting. He's probably going to be fine. He's probably going to be fine. Just because he's dunking in slides, by the way, doesn't mean that he's ready to go out there and face Duke tomorrow or to face Florida or Auburn or who have you. But it's a very good sign that in August, he's capable of doing that comfortably. He's rehabbing well, clearly. And if I have said, I've continued to say, if I'm putting money on it, he's ready day one. We will see. But as it stands today, JQ's health Seems like it's at a pretty freaking good spot. Otega boot pending, right? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. Follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I'll see you all tomorrow for another episode. Have a great rest of your day. And of course, God bless.